He's a friend and he's a brother. Libizo like is Sammy. Please can we listen up? Just two more speakers and then we'll wrap up the program. Libizo like is Sammy. Sammy is... Oh, it's at the back. All right. Our next speaker is Sammy. In Santon they call him Sammy. Sammy. So he's a serial entrepreneur, mentor. He's a business speaker. He's a township entrepreneur developer, as well as an award-winning entrepreneur. Accredited business advisor with the Institute of Business Advisors SA, which is regulated. Sammy's education is in the new venture creation at the Wits Business School, Microsoft Marketing and Sales in the London College. He's recently got a new brand, a new product, Kicks, Litlodi Bona, new brand, new product. He is wearing his brand and he's going to be speaking to us about rebuilding your brand. He is in the building. As we sit, learn, and relax, let's hear from our brother, Sammy. Sammy Dulafat, man. Come on. Labon. That's can't disappoint. Alimfi energy come. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for the one and only Mr. Kicks himself, Sammy!
Hey, yeah, this man, if he was my father, you'll be in trouble every day. My name is Sammy Mhaule. I'm the founder and the managing director, or should I say now, because the business is growing, CEO of Kick Sportswear. I'm wearing Kicks. Kicks, we're kicking our low self-esteem. We're kicking our shortcoming. We're putting in the work. We do what is right all the time as a business. And I believe, because I started my first business at the age of 14, selling ice cream in the street of Tembisa, I believe the topic is fitting for me because I have created brands. I have lived. I understand what it takes or to drive a brand to the right or the end part where you need to depart. My previous brand is called Sky Rule Twist, which we distributed it into Pick n Pay, Checkers, Spar, and many others. And when I think about building the brand and seeing what is really, really happening in our country, most of our entrepreneurs are literally feeling low, not because of looting. Most of the businesses have been hit really, really hard by COVID-19. And the question pops into my mind, how do we rebuild our brand? And I think the first thing that we need to do is to establish what is a brand and what is not a brand. First of all, a brand is not a logo. And secondly, a brand is the face of the company, not the other way around. And it's very important that you should be able to allow your brand to connect with your consumer and have that emotional connection with your consumer. And I want us to look at the 4 powerful companies that have done really, really well to connect with their consumer in terms of their behavior, as well as their delivering promise or the brand promise that they deliver to the consumer. And the first one that I want us to look at is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, they've been in the industry for many, many years, and their brand promise has stood for many, many years. So, Coca-Cola, their brand slogan is taste the feeling, right? And when they talk about taste the feeling, it's not necessarily about the product itself, but they literally talking about the emotional connection that you have. And the second one that I really like, it's BMW. They talk about shared driving pleasure, right? The third one will be McDonald's. I'm loving it. And the final one, it will be my brand, Kick Sportswear. And our tagline is, "You got this." Why do I identify those 4 powerful international companies? It's because all of them have one thing or the other that connects to the emotional connection of the consumer and the brand. And it is vital for entrepreneurs to understand that in order to build a brand, there are 3 element keys that are important that needs to be. And first of all would be trust. In order for people to trust your brand, they have to trust your brand. They have to trust your brand message, your communication, your delivery, your deliverance of your message to the end users. What is it that you're trying to communicate? And I suppose to many people that are literally stuck, they don't know what to do in times like this when there's COVID. They're asking the same question. But I've been running my business for the last 10 to 4 years. How do I reinvest? How do I rebuild my brand? And all that it takes is to do something different. If you don't do nothing about your brand, nothing will happen. Things will stay the same. It's a principle. And you cannot adopt the same principles or the same attitude that you've had 10 years back. How you need to operate during COVID is how you will lead your business to survive. Is that adaptation mentality to allowing your business to breathe. Then you have a situation where someone said, but it's a new product or it's a new company that I've established. Why do I need to rebuild my brand? Your brand or your company always has to evolve in situations, whether it's COVID or not. We've had to rebuild our brand and reposition because of the type of client that we're now focusing on during COVID-19. But on your other hand, you maybe have to rebuild your brand or your company altogether because you are taking on a new client that requires a different service. And the question remains, how do you rebuild a brand when you have not started as an entrepreneur? It's very simple. The moment you have the brand in your heart, that's a seed that you have. You need to start small, start where you are. Whether you're establishing a t-shirt that you wear every day, you are now living your brand. You are now introducing your brand. Whether it's a cap, whether it's a sneaker, you are introducing your brand to the public. More importantly, what does a brand need to do? A brand needs to be able to close a gap in the community. What problem are you solving as a brand in the community? If your brand is just a brand that is there, another brand that will sit. And keep it in mind that 20% of the brands that are celebrated in South Africa are the ones that we admire. So there is a gap of 80% that allows us to take up that space and create new brands. But the only brands that will take up that space are the brands that we invest time, we invest resources, we invest knowledge into them. Then I suppose someone might ask and say, but my name is a brand, how do I then develop that? And I get this question all the time. My surname is Mhaule, as an example. Does that sound good if I'm going to name my sneakers as Mhaule? So what it is, you have to align a name that aligns to the product itself. But more importantly, how do you transfer the energy of the product or the emotion of the product? Because the product remains a product. A sneaker is a sneaker, but if I'm not selling you the lifestyle, what the brand needs to do, it remains a sneaker. If you don't know anything about a sneaker, or if you don't know about a cold drink that is called something something, right? It will remain a cold drink that is sitting in the fridge. But the moment you break down your brand, what does your cold drink, what does your services need to be? How do you have to translate your services to your consumer? And the same principle works whether you are an entrepreneur that's providing services or you are an entrepreneur that is providing a physical product. The moment you provide services as an entrepreneur, already there, that talks to a lifestyle businesses that you have to leave your brand. You leave your brand from the moment that you start your business. Whereas when you have a product, you then have to break down the element of the product. Why does it even exist? What problem does it solve? If your brand is not aligned within the solution that it has to provide for your community, what good is your brand? And I want us to take a step back and look at the 4 companies that I've mentioned. That one, they connect very smartly in terms of the emotional connection of their consumers, right? We've seen it in the past that more and more brands will come into places like this. They would sponsor football. They would sponsor money into the school. What does that do? It links back to what? To the brand connection. When you go to a football stadium, you use your emotion. When Kaizer Chiefs, which is always the case, loses, you you get emotional, you get angry, you want change to happen. You've invested emotions. Hence why big brands, they'll go into the sports arenas, into the sports sector and invest. And then let's look at entertainment, festivals. Again, is a similar example where you find brands coming into that space where they invest. You are there to be happy. You are there to, to let go of whatever that you've been going through, whether it's work issues and so on. You're there to let your hair loose, right? That is emotions. And let's bring it home to entrepreneurs that have no budget to build their brand and rebuild their brand. You start where you are. And I'm not a big fan of funding. Funding is good if you know what you need to do with that funding. Anybody can get funding, but if funding is not utilized in the correct department within, and in a case of an entrepreneur who's working alone, because that's where it starts, you don't have a budget to build that brand or to invest in that brand. But it starts with the little things such as social media to make sure that you are visible. The brand communication message. What is your brand message that you are delivering? And what is your communication message that is even linked? Those things, they don't even need a lot of money. You need an account for your social media. You start, off you go, right? And there are 2 brands that I admire. And one of the reasons why I admire those brands is not only they connect emotionally with their consumers, they deliver the brand promise so well and solve a problem. The first one is MTN, right? And the second one is F&B. And both brands, if you look at the deliverance of their service, they are giving you the brand deliverance. At the same time, they are giving you a service. If, for example, right now you want to send money, you've got no card, you can e-wallet, easy, right? That is a brand extension of what communication from F&B they're doing. We said the brand can do this, but extensionally what we want to do is to make sure that we provide a service. Then you have MTN. You can send someone airtime with, somebody who doesn't have airtime. You can transfer the minutes. You can do all sorts, right? That is an extension. So when you sit in your office tomorrow, think about the divisions or the legs that you want your brand to unfold. Just don't think about one services. Think about 4 services and give it a goal. It's so important and critical that as an entrepreneur, you allow your brand to have a goal. What stages that you want your brand to have step number 1? What other stages do you want stage number 2 to start to kick in? And the critical thing about branding is that you have to leave your brand. If you don't leave your brand, you cannot convince me to wear it. I made a conscious decision that my brands that I developed, they have to live through me. If I believe so much about my brand, what it does, what it delivers. If you want to see comfort, it has to start with me. It's so critical. But at the end of the day is the building of the brand and the rebuilding of the brand happens in two stages, two different stages. You build a brand when you start a business. You invest time, resources. You align the brand to what you want to align it to, right? But the rebuilding of the brand, it can happen during a crisis of COVID-19. It can happen because you want to grow your business or you want to introduce a new client. So there's different scenarios, but it's how you rebuild your brand. In some instances, people would need to change the color of the logo, which now reflects what? The color of, change the color of the logo, which now reflects the brand. And the brand message changes all the time. And your brand is so important that you have to keep on reinventing because the consumers change their mind all the time. What I like today, I may not like tomorrow. And if your brand message does not convince me all the time in different stages of my life, and remember there's different stages of my life, right? You start by being a child, you go to nursery, you go to primary, you go to secondary. Those are different stages of life, right? And I'll give you another example of a brand that is able to capture the audience of a child from the early ages, right? Fanta, Chappies, right? We used to watch Fanta. We used to enjoy Chappies bubblegum in those ages when we were young. Little did we know that they are actually locking us. But as we grow, being adults, they take time to understand that, okay, cool, 10 years ago, we had kids, but now we have an adult who's working. How do we then jump into their journey and make sure that we are relevant? That is the relevance that your brand has to. You cannot assume that because of your brand is acceptable to a consumer today, it will be acceptable tomorrow. You have to evolve all the time and put yourself into a consumer's mind as to how do they evolve. More and more entrepreneurs, they focus on sales and they neglect the brand. If you don't market, if you don't maintain your brand, you've got no money in the bank. You can shout all you want about your product, but if I don't know it, why would I buy it? But if I told you about my brand, what it does, where is it located, right? How many people does my company employ in order for this brand to survive? And remember that a company is a foundation for the brand to survive. If you don't create a market for the brand, your brand will not survive. You have to be able to create that market in order for your brand to survive. It's so critical. Your brand depends on your company. If everything that you're doing in your company, it's not stable. If anything that you do in your company is not ethical, you're doing your business unethical, how can your brand promise be ethical? It cannot be. Whatever that you promise on the ground of the brand promise, I cannot believe you, because if your company, which are two different things, if your company, it's not ethical, your brand can never be ethical either. Because they are working together. They work together. And I just want to encourage someone in closing that this is not the end. Your business may be going down. You might have lost everything. I want you to go back to the foundation and the purpose why you started your business. And you will see in every speaker that will come here, we all talk about your why, your purpose. I want you to go back, align yourself, realign yourself to your purpose. The reason why you started the business, you didn't wake up and decide you wanted to start a business. It happened because you are aligned to your purpose. And how you deliver your purpose to your plan becomes the challenges that we find now. COVID-19, you shutting down your business. I want you not to be discouraged, because we lose some, we win some. That's business. What's important is how are you going to get up and restart your journey. It's very easy to lose a business, but it's very difficult to build it. You can lose a business now. Everything is gone. And align that purpose to your business. Understand why you've started that business. And it's so important, and I want to take it to what I call it to a right to war. When a soldier is going to Afghanistan, they're going to war. They don't just land there. They do their maths to understand their enemy. They do their calculation. Where is the enemy located? So I want you to sit down, spend time. If you're going through hell, if you're going through hardship, spend time and understand your right to war. Go back to your drawing board. Your drawing board will align you. Understand why you started your business. Some of us have children that depend on your business. And when your brand goes down, it means your company is also not going to be able to survive. I want you to go back to your right to war and understand 3 things. The clarity of why you started that business. That's number 1. The consistent that you've given to that business. And finally, the confidence that you've given to the business. Because without the 3 elements that you put forward, especially clarity and understanding your vision, understanding your purpose, your business cannot move forward. Let us rebuild our business and have confidence that we will make it. This is not the end. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, kupakishapeling Sammy Mhaule once again. This man knows what he's talking about. It's one thing to tell people to rebuild a brand and you're like, but what are you talking about? Sky Rule built it, done extremely well. Now he's got kicks. Sammy, I'm going to do something really uncomfortable. Yeah, skip.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, relax, man. Kicks. This is the brand. This is the brand. Yeah, no, I know. It's like, yeah, but hey, Pile Manch. The very same strategies that he used to build Skyro and to get it in pick and pays all over the country, he's going to use, and you're going to see kicks everywhere. I want to know, but it's not here. But you'll find it. This is the brand, Kicks. Not only does he have the teki, but he's also got the Kicks socks. So he's wearing the brand. Yeah? You want to rebuild the brand, you wear the brand. Okay. You want to